All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to the Natural Science Live YouTube. My name is Mr. King, and we have the chat box, so I can see people are going ahead and already leaving questions that they have in the chat box. We have about an hour scheduled for this call. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Helms. For the chat box, please only put information that's pertinent to this call. We have people monitoring that. So if you're kind of off topic, we'll delete the comment. Mr. Helms, this call is yours.
Well, first off, thank you, and please be patient with us. So just like in the video, please be patient. We are learning how to do this, and we're attempting to do this for the first time. So we appreciate that patience. We are also working very hard to respond to all emails. I promise you, we are trying to work as hard as we can. Just in terms of answering questions, though, we are trying to answer questions and emails that are going to be very important for the first day of school. So there's some people asking about transportation. There's some people asking about, what day they're coming into school. We are trying to answer those questions first, because if there's something that's kind of a week or two out, we know we have a little bit of time to get to that, but we are working through those emails as quickly as possible. We've had several requests in terms of being able to switch in terms of days because of transportation or specific needs. We are also working through those as quickly as possible. And as soon as we are able to make those changes, you will receive a confirmation email from us. So I know we will be working hard even this weekend to try to get that taken care of. So you will receive a confirmation email. I will tell you or ask to please, again, be patient with that. Just so you know, some of the stuff behind that, we have to be able to have someone else that's wanting to switch at the same time. So as we move them back and forth, we have to balance those numbers. So that's one of the things that we're required to do. The goal of tonight is to try to answer as many questions as possible. A lot of the questions we've received are pretty consistent in terms of what they're asking. So Ms. Howard and I are going to go through and try to answer those things that we've been receiving emails about. So right now, again, my name is David Helms, so I'm the principal at the Natural Science Center. Can't wait to see you guys and looking forward to it. It was great having students on our campus and in the building again to come pick up the things, those that were able to. On Tuesday and Wednesday, it'll be exciting to see our students for the first time. Some of them will be here for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. We're going to introduce ourselves real quick, just so you can put a name with a face.
All right, I'll go first. I'm Tara Brown. I am one of the veterinary science instructors.
All right, I'll go next, I guess. I'm Mrs. Martin. I'm the other veterinary science instructor.
Hi, everybody. My name's Mr. Spurl. I am the equine science instructor, and I'm going to put a YouTube link in here for you to watch. If any of you watch old cowboy movies anytime, there used to be a guy that would always come on, an old character actor, and his key line was, "No brag, just facts." And I'm just going to reassure everybody, you are coming to the best equine science, veterinary science, and landscape design programs in the state, if not in the whole country. And it's kind of a funny little video.
Hi, I'm Amanda Howard. I'm the school counselor here, and I'm going to kind of start things off with some of the things I want to share with you and questions that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks here. So as your school counselor here, I'll be your main contact for social emotional, academic, college and career planning, that kind of thing. The same as your counselors have done for you at your homeschool. We do have, each homeschool has a counselor assigned to Butler Tech that is the liaison. However, almost everything goes through me, and we rope in that counselor as needed because they're part of your support team to get whatever it is that you need while you're here. That includes just any kind of information that you want. You will still stay connected to your homeschool for any activities that you want to be in, and I think Mr. Helms will cover some of that too. So as I said, I handle all those needs, but I wanted to flag for you that we also have access to Access Counseling Services, which is an outside counselor that comes in. Her name's Brooklyn. She'll be here 2 days a week. And in that newsletter I sent you about 2 hours ago, there's information on that. If you're interested in doing that, all you need to do is send me an email or give me a call and tell me that you're interested, and I will put in the referral, and then they'll contact you and get that set up. Some of you may be doing that at your homeschools now in the school-based services. The advantage is that she's here on campus and you don't have to travel anywhere to go find that outside counseling if it's something that you need. Again, more information that was sent to your email about 2 hours ago on that. So if you want that, just let me know. Another thing I wanted to flag that was in that newsletter was forms, which Mr. Helms will talk about. But one thing I wanted to say specifically was about the free or reduced lunch application. That does not just deal with lunch. If you go ahead and do that, and if you're approved, that also gives me the ability to give you free college applications and free SAT and ACT. You're talking about a savings of $200 to $400 with that, depending on how many colleges you apply to or schools you would like to send your ACT scores to or times you would like to take the ACT. So I encourage you to do that if you think you in any way might qualify for free or reduced lunch, so that I can give you those waivers and save you some money on that. Also related, the supply list was on there because obviously it's tax-free weekend, and Kroger is doing 10% off general supplies on Wednesdays as well. With that also, we do have some funds to help with things like uniforms. So if that's something that you're struggling with and you need some help with that, you can again contact me and we will work through some of that with some of the scholarship dollars that we have for supplies for Butler Tech. Finally, related to schedules, if you want the schedule change as far as your classes, or you have questions about the classes that you're taking, that all goes through me. I make the academic schedules. I help make sure that you have all your credits for graduation and things like that, including CCP. You will get another copy of your schedule when we get back to school that will show everything. You can ask questions, talk to me, make changes. You can email me those as well, which some of you have been doing. Regarding CCP, I know there's still some outstanding stuff, and as Mr. Holmes said, we were kind of triaging those emails. CCP classes do not start till the 24th. That is when Sinclair's semester starts. So they run on their schedule, obviously, even though they're teaching here at the Natural Science Center. So I am getting to those CCP questions. And I just want to put another shout out. If you are still interested, there might be some time to get in on that, because we have set in some very nice pathways for students interested in vet tech or becoming a vet eventually. If you follow our pathway as well as take 4 online classes through CCP, you can finish up to 2 semesters of work before you even step out of here towards either UC Blue Ash or Sinclair's vet tech program and or a 4-year pathway to become a vet. So we've got a nice setup here. So if you're at all thinking about CCP, you might want to contact me and see if we can maybe still get you in before classes start on the 24th for CCP specifically. Do you have any questions, Mr. Helms, that I need to answer right now?
You are good at this point.
Okay.
So now it's your turn to try to answer questions. So, so we're trying to tag team a little bit in terms of answering questions. So if you do have questions, please make sure you're putting them in there. Some of the stuff like transportation, we will cover in the presentation. So there are some things that we'll go over just kind of generally, but then if you do have specific questions, make sure you ask. So Ms. Howard did send out all the forms. We are going to begin our newsletters again, sending those out on Mondays. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of an indication of what the newsletter will look like. It's that same format. Those will go out on Mondays to make sure that you have that information and so that you know for students kind of as a good reference for what needs to be done that week. And also some information that there might be scholarship information. So there's a lot of good things in that newsletter, so make sure you're paying attention to that on Monday. The forms that were sent out in there, I will make reference to basically throughout today's presentation. But again, the goal is to try to answer as many questions as we can today. So one of the questions that we've gotten is, what is the first day going to look like, and how's that different than how things have been in the past? Well, as you guys are listening to the news, as you're listening to how different schools are reacting to this, there are different health department regulations and there are different regulations that schools are required to follow. So for instance, one of the things that we just found out today is we need to shut off water fountains. So now we are in the process of figuring out to make sure we can have water for our students on a daily basis. So we are taking care of those issues as we keep hearing new information. So right now it's kind of a ball that we keep chasing. So sometimes we might answer a question and then we might need to change it a little bit. So we are going to keep trying to provide you with the most up-to-date information. I will tell you that our staff in this building is dedicated to making sure that we do everything we can to stay open. A lot of our students, so if you go back to March, a lot of our students were very disappointed. They were crushed. They missed some cool things in terms of, we had a goat that had a couple kids, literally. We had a couple things going on campus and our students weren't able to participate in those things. Our goal is to try to keep this building open through this whole experience. In order to do that, there are some things that we need to be a little strict on. So it's, there's politics, there's science, there's people that believe certain things and people that don't believe certain things. Really, all of that doesn't matter when we're trying to work on keeping this building open. The health department tells us we need to wear masks. Well, then we need to wear masks. The health department tells us we need to make sure we're doing contact tracing. We want to do contact tracing. If we don't do some of these things, then there's a greater chance that someone would come in and say, then if you can't even tell us what's going on, then you need to shut it down. So it's going to be the responsibility of every staff member. It's going to be the responsibility of every student to try to do everything they can for all the students on this campus. Because again, our students were devastated come March of last year. Hand sanitizing, that's going to be a big thing. Washing your hands, sanitizing. Our equine students who don't sanitize their hands after they're grooming a horse, our landscape students that just kind of pick up the next tool, we're going to have bottles of stuff around to make sure you hand sanitize after you use a tool. And that way you protect yourself because you're going to touch your face, you're going to touch your eyes, you're going to touch your mouth. We know that's going to happen. So we need to be conscientious in terms of that. In terms of changing some of the things that we've done in the past, I'm a handshaker. I believe in giving a firm handshake and looking at someone in the eye and doing that. It was very hard having students on campus and parents on campus and not being able to do that. You are going to have to help remind me because I am going to reach across and shake your hand at some point because I'm going to forget. You need to make sure that you are also thinking about that and saying, hey, Mr. Helms, maybe later, maybe in a month or so. But again, we need to do those things so that we can be on campus. I just told you about the change in policy in terms of our water fountains. Bring a water bottle. The good thing is we gave you one. Bad thing is a lot of them are the same color. So put your name on it. Make sure you're drinking out of your water bottle. We're going to have to do some things a little different. Juniors, you won't know because you haven't been on the campus yet, but seniors, we're going to have a homeroom because we have to know where students are. We have to know where students are sitting. We are going to have to do things like making sure that we have a seating chart, making sure we have a seating chart at lunch. We are going to do everything we can to get you with your friends during lunch, but you're going to have to be patient with us that first week. As we start to rotate schedules, as we start to rotate rooms, we have to make sure that we're maintaining a balance in each one of those rooms. We have to make sure that, again, those schedules are matching up. So you have to have patience with us. And really, those first 2 weeks, Ms. Howard's going to be working on schedules. And then we're going to make sure that we're also balancing areas, rooms, seats, those kinds of things. On the first day of school, hopefully all of you have received the email with your homeroom listed on there. Again, seniors haven't had homerooms in the past, and usually when students used to get here, they just kind of wander around, they talk with their friends, they hang out, they do other things. They do the things that normal students would do. When you come on campus, when you get off the bus or when you get out of your car, one of the things that we're going to ask is make sure you go to your homeroom. Make sure you have your mask on when you're in the building. Make sure you head to where you're supposed to be. Yes, I know that's different, again, but the goal is to keep this building open. First day, we'll make sure that you get your computers. So the first day, we'll do some training in terms of Schoology. We'll do some training in terms of Outlook and email and those kinds of things to make sure everyone's on the same page so that we're able to communicate with each other, so that we're able to make sure that you're on the right place, find your assignments, so that the juniors especially kind of know what's going on for that first day. I'll also have a welcome speech. I apologize in advance. Some students say I'm windy, some staff members say I'm windy. So I am apologizing in advance for that. But you'll also get your schedule, and that's going to look a little bit different as well. We'll go into that in just a minute. Biggest thing is we have hand sanitizer everywhere. Wash your hands. You're going to use a tool, wash your hands after it. You're going to be with animals, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer after it. So the more we can do that, the less that we put on someone else. So I also wanted to cover just, I'm going to briefly highlight a day in the life of a Natural Science Center student. So first thing is, you're going to come and enter off Yankee Road. Some of you will be on a bus. Some of you will drive, and some of you will be picked or dropped off. If you're coming on a bus, you're going to be basically on a shuttle from D. Russell Lee. On Monday, you can expect to get a email from us saying where the shuttle buses are for the Natural Science Center. So Lakota might be sending a student to the Natural Science Center. Lakota transports to D. Russell Lee. There will be a shuttle at D. Russell Lee that will bring you here. And then at the end of the day, it goes in reverse. If you need to find out when and where that bus gets you, please call the transportation department at your home school. We don't control the busing for every single school district. Each school district controls their own busing and is setting those things. I would tell you, make sure you contact Monday and try to find out in advance, because I know that some school districts you have to sign up to be able to get that transportation, because if you don't sign up, then again, they might have too many people on a bus. They need to know that information too. So please make sure you're checking with your school district to find out that information. If you're a driver, I know you're going to drive responsibly and not drive crazy into our parking lot. You're going to drive slow so that you make sure you don't hit an animal or you don't hit another student. So I know you guys are all going to be driving responsible. We did send out the forms today, so you can go ahead and fill out a parking pass form. Please do not pay for that. Do not go into the fees at this point and pay for fees. We want to make sure we wait until after Labor Day before we even start talking about that. Again, we want to make sure everyone gets on campus for that first day of school. If you're not able to fill out the form, we would appreciate it if you can. If you can't, still make sure you're driving to school, find a parking spot, and then come on into school. So again, do not worry about paying that fee for the parking pass. If you can fill out the paperwork, that's great. If you're dropping off, there's some arrows on the road, so just follow those arrows and drop a student off. All students who are either dropped off or all students who drive, if you're facing the building that you would see first, please enter on the left-hand side. Sorry about that. If you're riding a bus, please enter on the right-hand side. That helps enable some of that social distancing. That helps enable that we don't have too many people going through one way at a time. And then again, if you're going into the building, make sure you're going to your homeroom. The exception to that would be if you want to stand outside a little bit, you don't have to have your mask on outside if you are 6 feet away from another person. Inside, you always have to have your mask on. Outside, maintain 6 feet and you can have that mask off. So we'll talk a little bit about breaks too. I know it's going to be a struggle for some to be able to keep that on. So we'll talk a little bit about breaks.
Do you, Mr. Holmes, do you want to hear any of the questions that have been coming in so far?
Sure, that would be great.
A few people have been asking about the honor system of taking temperatures, buses and social distancing factors, and where do people send their shot records to us or to their homeschool?
So you can go ahead and send your shot records to us. That's the easy one. In terms of take your temperature at home, and yes, that is an on your honor. Here's the thing in this whole kind of social contract. There's a lot of things that are on your honor. I'm not standing in the bathroom when you're going to the bathroom. It's going to be on your honor to make sure that you have your mask on when you're in that bathroom. It's going to be on your honor in terms of when you're changing classes and you're walking through the school, you need to try to maintain that 3 to 6 feet. And you also need to make sure that you're keeping that mask on. Those are things that each one of us have a responsibility for ourselves, but you also have a responsibility for someone else. At the beginning of this, one of the things I said was, I'm telling you, I'm going to try to shake someone's hand at some point. It's my responsibility to try to prevent that. But it is also your right to be able to tell me, hey, Mr. Helms, like I said, maybe in a month, maybe in 2 months. We can get back to that. But for right now, we want to make sure we keep this school open. Sorry, Ms. Howard, is there something else that I'm missing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, unless
Something about transportation.
Yeah, people were asking about like they're concerned about the lack of social distancing on busing, and then also that's it basically.
So I'm not trying to justify things, and like I said, we do not control every district's transportation. I will tell you that again, just in terms of what I know in terms of logistics, let's say you can put 50 students on a bus because a bus holds 50 students. If it was totally social distance at 6 feet, then you'd be looking at 10 students. School districts don't have enough buses to send 5 buses for the same 50 group of students. So here's where it comes back to what the CDC and the Ohio Department has told us is when you cannot social distance, it is very important for you to keep that mask on. And that goes back to what I was saying before, that it's all of our responsibilities to keep that mask. And I'm telling you, I'm one of the ones that I'm trying to remember. It's not something that's a habit yet for me. And we're going to have to remind each other until we get into that habit because it's very important.
I'll interject and say a lot of people are asking about CCP online versus in person. We did plan for fully in person. However, Sinclair did just change that to doing remote instruction. So we are going to look at a hybrid model where the teacher is teaching via Zoom class, but still very much you're getting taught just by Zoom instead of physically in person. More information to come with CCP students. I'll be working with you closely on that.
Like Ms. Howard said, that first couple of days, that first week, we will be spending a lot of time talking about what's a little bit different because everything's changing. So CCP, I think that was 2 days ago that they made the decision to do things a little bit differently. So we will have to have a lot of conversations. One of the other things that I referenced in that video is the communication part. If there's something you don't understand, please ask. So I see a couple other people are asking about busing to Butler Tech coming from different school districts. Again, we don't have control over different school districts in terms of their transportation. Please call their transportation department. Ask what kind of requirements. Do you have to sign paperwork to get on a bus? Ask about what time the bus is leaving, where it's leaving from. Make sure you're contacting your school. Also see some things in regards to supply list. Really what we list is the supplies for our labs. Our academic teachers know that they will work with you in terms of things that you need to get. CCP may require some different things too. So I saw a graphing calculator on there. So a couple other things heading back to that life in the day. So we already talked about the buses in the morning entering. We talked about homeroom. If you want to be outside in your social distance, you're more than welcome to be outside before you head to homeroom. The other thing is breakfast. We do serve breakfast. If you are going to eat, you need to go ahead and get breakfast and head to Mr. Spurl's room. And don't worry, we'll be out there first day showing you where Mr. Spurl's room if you don't know. If you want to eat outside and you're social distancing 6 feet too, then please feel free to eat outside as well. What's nice about this campus is we are outside a whole bunch, and it's great. And that really helps with the component of the virus. The reason we are having one room for breakfast is because we are making sure that students are 6 feet away, because obviously if you're going to eat, you have to be able to remove a mask. So if you are in that room, then that way we can maintain that 6 feet. And then as soon as you're done eating, we can also make sure that that spot's wiped down before you head to your homeroom. So by 7:45, you should be in that homeroom. At that point, we'll have homeroom for about 15 minutes. We'll take attendance. We'll get notes if you've been absent. And we'll do that until about 8 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, you'll head to your labs. What we're doing with academics this year is, again, different than what's been done in the past. CCP, we will talk with those students to make sure that they know what they're doing in their schedule. Again, that will look a little bit different on the campus this year, but all CCP will be held on this campus, and you guys will be scheduled in a cohort together to head to those CCP classes. We have CCP classes in the morning as well as in the afternoon. What we're trying to do with students is, we've had a lot of questions and saying, you know, during last year, it was very hard for my student to be 100% online. We understand that. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that each student is scheduled with their academic teacher at least for 30 minutes, one time a week. This is starting out. Again, this may change because we realize some students may need more time with their academics. We might find out that some students need less time with their academics. We will take care of those needs, but we need to start somewhere. So what we started with is 30 minutes for each one of your academic areas. And what we're doing is blocking those off. So this group of students may go to their classes in the morning and visit their academics, and then they'll be back in lab. We know you guys came here for the lab. I'm a social studies teacher by nature. I know you didn't come here for social studies. So we are trying to make sure that you have that, as much of that lab experience as possible. So we're trying to make sure we do that.
Mr. Holmes, can you speak to the average number of students in classes and whether they need to be in uniform on the first day?
So in terms of uniform each day,
The first day.
the first day, so everyone should come prepared first day, because you may be outside. You know, we're starting to get animals back on campus. One of the first things we're going to do in some places is we'll have some animal care. So yes, you should be following each one of our labs in terms of those requirements. In terms of average number of kids in each class, so when we're talking about a typical day, what we're trying to do is 20 students for each one of our homerooms. When those students then go to lab, and then we're going to begin pulling students out of those labs to attend their academics. So when you're looking at an average, it would be 20 in the homeroom. You're going to look at about 15 to 20 in the labs, and you're going to be looking at the academic classes that are broken up a little smaller. For our building, at most, you're going to have 11 and 12 in lunch. But what's nice about lunch as well is we had a lot of our students ate outside last year. We've set up some picnic table areas, which again, you need to make sure that you're social distancing. We have a great wall that, you know, Mr. Anderson's class built that they like to sit along the wall. We're working on some other ways that are things that we can have in terms of seating outside. There's a couple projects in terms of stone places to sit. So again, not bragging about just Mr. Anderson, but he also built a wall around the picnic tables, and that provides seating as well. So we have a lot of seating outside for our students. So here's again the nice thing. If you feel like this room might be a little bit too packed, walk outside and go sit at a picnic table. We are trying to make sure that you can do that. And that's also nice to be able to take that mask off for a half an hour, but it is going to be your responsibility. And when we see stuff, we're going to follow up with you on that. But maintain that 6 feet. That's the goals that we're trying for. So lockers is a tougher one. What we would ask is absolutely use a backpack. Bring a backpack if you can. What we also know and understand is with our equine students, you got boots and you have riding helmets that sometimes need a place to be. So yes, we will be spacing out some of that space, and yes, on an individual basis, we'll be looking at lockers if that's needed. Anything else, Ms. Howard, that's?
Yeah, just if they need to bring all their supplies on the first day, and then a lot of questions about days that students aren't on campus face-to-face.
I'm sorry, can you, the students not on campus face-to-face?
Yeah, the days that the students aren't on campus face-to-face. So there's been a few questions about what they're doing on those days.
So let me finish this up and then I'll head right back to that. So we talked a little bit about lunch. What I want to say is make sure you go to those forms page. You can add money to your account. Let me tell you this though, if your homeschool uses pay schools, there's going to be a little bit of a conflict. So I want to give you a heads up before you start paying your fees at your homeschool or before you start putting lunch money on your homeschool account. If you are using pay schools, so I think Fairfield and Madison maybe uses pay schools, and there's probably a couple other schools, you're going to have to create a new account that's a Butler Tech account. With that, and I'm sorry, but that's the way that the pay school system works. You have to use a different email, because if you keep using the same email, it'll keep registering you as, so like if you're coming from Fairfield and you're trying to put money on a lunch account, if you use the same email, it's going to put money on your Fairfield lunch account. So please use a different email account. That's just a heads up for pay schools. But for lunch, you can bring cash. You can put money on that pay schools. You know, Ms. Howard talked about free and reduced lunch. We have flexibility in terms of that. You are not going to starve the first day of school. We will work with you to make sure that we get that covered those first weeks of school. If you do have time, like I said, head into those forms and you can go ahead and take care of that and set up a pay schools account. After lunch, you'd head to lab again, and then some of the students taking an academic in the class in the afternoon would then be rotated out of that lab. And then at the end of the day, when we dismiss, we will excuse bus riders first, and then we will excuse the drivers and the pickup students. So that's kind of a day in the life of our students at this point, in trying to keep as much social distancing as possible. Now, I forgot your question. I forgot the question, Ms. Howard, so I knew I was going to do that, but I wanted to get through at least the day so we could kind of move on.
It was about the days they aren't on campus. There's a lot of questions about that. What it looks like. Will the academics be like face-to-face Zoom or like Zooming on that day? What's it going to look like? Lots of questions about that.
So that's a great question. When you are not scheduled to be on campus, this is how I'd like you to look at things. So this goes to our students that were with us last year. the students from this incoming juniors and the students that are coming from other campuses or from other schools, I can't give you an example of what your day looked like, but I know at our campus last year, we were trying to make things work. We tried to do things as best we could in the situation. We've had time to prepare. We've had time to get things settled. So this year's going to be different. The expectation is that this is still a 5-day week of school. We realize that your 5-day week of school might not necessarily be between the hours of 7 and 2 o'clock. We understand that. Some people might be working when they're not here at school, but the expectation is still the same in terms of getting that schoolwork done. What I would also say, though, is if you're doing an assignment at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't expect our staff at 2 o'clock in the morning to be answering a question for you. So there's going to be, again, a little bit of patience in working together, that if you have a question, you might have to ask that before 3 o'clock. We are going to have set office hours. So we'll have office hours to make sure that we're blocking out for teachers to make sure that they can respond to you. We'll have a morning, we'll have an afternoon one. So we're trying to provide some of that time so that you can get in contact with the teachers and make sure you're asking those questions. But it would be an unrealistic expectation that 3 in the morning that you're going to get an answer to your assignment because it's due in the next 10 minutes. So what we are doing is we are making sure that all assignments are posted Monday morning. Everything you have to do for that week, with the exception of when you're on campus, will be posted for you Monday morning. The expectation is by 11:59 on Sunday that work is complete. So here's how that plays into the attendance. When you're here on campus, that's really easy to take attendance. You're here, we can mark it. If you miss a day, let's say you're scheduled for Monday and Wednesday and you're supposed to be here Monday and you have a doctor's appointment, bring in a doctor's note. That takes care of those days that you are here on campus. If you're scheduled off campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you get your work done, you still have 100% attendance. Let's say you didn't get your work done, but you attended a Zoom meeting or an office meeting and you did those things, and maybe you didn't get it all quite complete. Well, we're still going to count you as 100% attendance, but we're still going to expect you to get that work in. Let's say you call and say, you know what, my mom's been sick, I've been taking care of her this week. Well, that's an excused absence. So if you're not scheduled to be here Tuesday or Thursday, but you couldn't get your assignments done, you need to make sure you're contacting someone. Reach out to your teachers, reach out to us, reach out to the office. Miss Keith takes all kinds of calls with all kinds of situations. Make sure you're reaching out to us, because we can count those as excused absences, or we can count that as you being here at school. It takes that communication, though. So when I talk to you about communication in the video, if you just sit there and you don't say anything and we have no idea and we ask you and you don't help us with that information, then that we would have to count you as being absent. If you're scheduled to be here on Friday and you don't show up, that's an absence. So for parents and guardians out there, you will still be receiving, when your student's scheduled to be here on campus, you will still be receiving a call for unexcused tardies. You'll still be receiving a call for unexcused absences. One of the biggest changes for attendance for us this year is, especially for the returning seniors, if you're going to be absent, we have to have a note within 5 days. So that's one of the things we're expected to do, is within 5 days, we have to have a note. Now, that can be an email, that can be a note that you write on paper. Either one of those is okay, but we're no longer allowed to accept just a phone call. Anything else, Ms. Howard, that's popping up quite a bit?
No, I think we're pretty up to date on the questions.
Okay, great questions. Again, we will be going over this information with students in greater detail on if they're reported or if they're on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, we'll go over that with students on the 11th. If they're on a Monday, Wednesday schedule, we will go over that with them on the 12th. So again, as I'm stumbling around here trying to remember which day is which, again, it's going to take us all a little bit of time to get used to that. We are pretty laid back, and we are a group of talkers, so we have no problem answering those questions. A couple other things that I want to make sure we cover tonight, just so you guys know. Medications. So we've had a lot of questions about medications. One of the reasons we got the forms out to you is because there is a medication form. If you have a prescription and or an over-the-counter, we still have to have that form filled out, and then we have to have you transport that in. The biggest thing is we have to have a doctor telling us that, yes, this is okay. So a doctor needs to sign that form. And again, we can administer medication during the day, but we have to have that information in hand before we can do that. Please don't just go ahead and give your medication to your student and say, yeah, go ahead and take this into school. As a school, we always have to follow that law in terms of, if a student's bringing a drug into school, we have to look at that policy. So I'm begging, please do not do that. And again, we don't control schools' transportation. So if a student gets caught, they're getting on the bus and it falls out of their pocket, that bus driver also has to report that then to your home school as well. So please make sure you have that form filled out, and please make sure that a parent or guardian brings that in. Another question that came from a couple students today. So I figured I'd answer that because this would be perfect timing for that. Some schools are starting to go on different schedules. You have, I think, Colerain and maybe Northwest that are doing different times a day. You have schools that are starting to modify and change and do different things, and that is going to continue as the year progresses. When you are a Butler Tech student and you're attending the Natural Science Center, you follow our schedule. So when we have 5th day experience next semester, and Friday is going to be a day you get to choose what you're doing, you can't follow that schedule and then also take 3 weeks off for winter break. So what we expect and what we hold accountable in terms of attendance wise is you follow our schedule. Here's kind of that tweak I'll put in there. Yes, we absolutely know and understand different families do different things. Hopefully, we'll get to go to competitions and do things, and sometimes families go out of town for a couple things during the year. We're going to work with you on that. We do have vacation forms. We do have other ways to do that. And what's really nice is you can still get your assignments done, and you can still take care of that, even if you're not present or sitting in Ohio, Southwest Ohio at the time. So that's what's kind of nice and unique. For the days that you're not on campus, then again, we can talk with you about bringing in a note. In the past, the example I've used was, we realized sometimes there's band camp or something that starts at the beginning of school. I'm not sure if all schools are doing that at this point, but if that's the case, where the first 2 days of school, you're doing something with your home school, we will work with you. But that communication becomes important to let us know. We realize and we hope that you participate in as many activities as you can. What we know is students that participate in those activities tend to do better in school and tend to do better in grades and everything else. So we want to encourage you to be parts of both schools. Be part of Butler Tech, jump in 100%, be part of your home school, participate in activities, attend proms, and those kinds of things. The other thing in regards to being a student at both Butler Tech and being a student at your home school, So while you're here, we do issue the credits while you're here. We send those back to your home school. Ultimately, though, your home school is what provides your diploma. So what's nice again is you're going to two places and you're part of both schools. Anything that's common right now, Ms. Howard?
School hours, maybe say that again. And then I think there might be a little confusion on our Fridays now versus our 5th day experience Fridays.
Okay, great question in terms of, yes, I understand absolutely, especially if you're coming in, that might be a little confusing. So again, I said earlier that Monday through Friday are school days. So one of the Fridays I know I'm going to schedule all seniors. Why am I going to schedule all seniors? Because I know we're going to have graduate services come in. We know we're going to do things like ordering cap and gown, starting to look at those things. Yes, I know it's early. Seniors, this will go very quickly for you. So yeah, start paying attention to some of those things like ordering a cap and gown. Know right now that you are going to graduate, so you need to order a cap and gown. But that will start in October. So all seniors might be scheduled for a Friday in October. One of the cool things is, and what I said in the video is, for this first semester for 5th day experience, use your imagination. Start thinking about what we can do to relate to your lab, to relate to some of your academics that we can do to call school. So some of the things we've been talking about is, can some of our students do job site visits? Can some of our students, some of our vet students, some of our vets only do surgeries on Fridays? Can some of our vet students maybe start attending some of those surgeries? Now, again, with all this stuff with COVID in terms of numbers and those things, we're going to have to work hard to make sure we can get some of these things done. But use your imagination, because I would love to see students coming up and saying, hey, this is something I thought of and I'd love to do. We will schedule some of those things too. There's a lot of projects that I would like to get done on this campus. So I'd love to have a group of students coming in on Friday so we can do some projects, so that we can have equine students, vet students, and we can have landscape students all working together to complete that project for this campus. We might have someone, so I spoke a little bit earlier about we're starting our academics with only 30 minutes one time a week. If you're a student that needs a little bit more support or didn't quite get something during the week and you know you have to get things done on Sunday, say, hey, I'd like to come in maybe this coming Friday. That's great. We'd love to hear that. So we might schedule some people in that situation, and hopefully we have some people that are coming up with some cool things and, like I said, getting those projects done. The other thing with Friday, though, is the expectation is that you are getting that work done. We also have animal care here, so we need to make sure we're taking care of our animals. So they take care of us in terms of our programs. We need to make sure we're taking care of them. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be scheduled on Fridays. And I'm really excited about it because I'm excited to hear your ideas. And there was a second part to that question, but
I don't remember. Yeah, I think I don't remember actually.
oh, it was the hour. So yep, you already answered it. 7:45 to 1:45. Our transportation is set up to make sure that you can get transportation home. There is cap and gown there is no cap and gown for Butler Tech students. What's really cool is, so again, I said we don't issue the diploma. We have a senior ceremony at the end of the year for our seniors. What's really cool about that senior ceremony is, so a lot of times, you know, as principal at Fairfield for a while, at Fairfield's graduation, it was all red and white. What I love about our senior ceremony is you look out, it's just a rainbow. There's a whole bunch of different colors from every single school district across all of Butler County, and including Colerain and Northwest. So it's just really cool seeing 11 different school districts at our senior ceremony.
Did we already clarify that there'll be no students on campus mostly for the next few Fridays?
Okay, good point. So for us all to get used to and adapt to this schedule, one of the things that we are doing the first 3 Fridays is starting to plan and look at different opportunities for students. For students, that's to make sure you have enough time to get your stuff done, that online component, to make sure that you have all those assignments done before Sunday at 11:59. One thing that we will be asking some of our seniors that are drivers, again, on a smaller capacity, is we do have animal care. Our animals take care of us. We need to make sure we're taking care of them. So when we're looking at possible volunteers or possibly looking at a rotation of our seniors for those first 3 Fridays, we know where to find you, so we will contact you. Good point. When will we know when that's a great question. I am not going to pop that on you Thursday night. I'm not going to come up to you and say, hey, tomorrow you need to be here. We are going to schedule students at least 1 week in advance. So one of the things we might do is a survey in terms of, hey, do you need help with one of your classes? Yes, I'd like to come and make sure that I'm meeting with my math and social studies teacher. That's great. So those students, that'll kind of be a natural in terms of knowing that we want to make sure that's that student's efforts. Maybe they struggle a little bit more with that online stuff and would love to have more face-to-face time with the teacher. Might have some of those students that are like, hey, Mr. Helms, I really want to work in that project. So we will make sure that the Friday before, you know that you would be scheduled for school that next Friday. So that is one of those things that we may need to talk with individual students, because I know someone might have a job. So we talk about school being Monday through Friday and holding that time a little sacred for school, but we know and understand you might work. So it might be one of those things that says, okay, maybe you can't make it this Friday, but then you're scheduled for the following Friday. That's 2 weeks out, so you need to make sure you're telling your job. We will work with you on those individual situations. Again, it just takes that communication. You need to make sure you're talking with someone about that. Yes, so that was at least 1 week's notice. Bringing supplies on the first day of school. Really what we want you to do first couple days of school is be here. We know you may change a class. We know that you might take advantage of CCP. We know that those things might happen. So we're not going to tell you, bring these 15 things here and then everything changes the next day. Show up prepared for school. Make sure you're dressed appropriately in terms of your corresponding lab. Make sure that you're ready to jump into things. That's what we would really ask of you in terms of first day. And then that first day, make sure you're listening. We'll talk to you about different things. We'll make sure you get some information. We'll make sure you get those computers. And then we're really excited to get you in labs. So that's what we want from you for that first day.
Just to re-clarify, we will not be having students on campus the next 3 Fridays in general. So that keeps getting asked, except like you said, we will need some animal care, which will be seniors at first. I assume juniors have to go through some safety training. Am I right?
Yes.
Instructors. So no juniors at first doing that animal care on Friday.
In terms of transportation offered on Friday, yes, that's one of the things that we're developing. We were just informed. So while you have to be patient with us because we're trying to make sure we get things in place, your homeschools are doing that as well. So one of the things that the homeschools ask for us is, we would like to know a week in advance as well who's coming the following Friday. So yes, there will be transportation. The same transportation is offered Monday through Thursday. So that will be taken care of, but that's something we also need to make sure we're informing your homeschools of. Procedures for a COVID positive student. So a couple things with that, and I'll talk, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Instead of talking about positive right away, I'm going to talk about, possibilities. One of the things that the district is doing and making sure that they have the availability is Those of you that have been on this campus in the past know we do not have a school nurse on this campus. We have a district nurse. We absolutely use her as a resource in terms of getting some things done, but we did not have a nurse scheduled on this campus. One of the things that's required of us is we have to have an isolation room. So when we have students that might be experiencing these systems, we have to have an isolation room to keep them away from other students. We will have a medical professional in that room to be able to go through that list of symptoms and to be able to talk to students about what is the requirements. So yes, if there is a COVID positive case, one of the things that's going to happen is a Department of Health is going to come into this school and they are going to start asking questions such as, are students wearing their mask? During lunch, were they 6 feet apart if they take off their mask? Who was this student sitting next to? So when I start talking about, I want to make sure this campus stays open. Our staff wants to make sure this campus stays open. Our students want to make sure this campus stays open. Is if it's just these two students who are taking off their mask and sitting too close and one of them is COVID positive, then if we can say these are the only two students that were near each other, these are the only two students that sat too close to each other after they took off their mask, then again, I can't make a promise. I can't guarantee. My hope is we will do well enough that those two students are the ones that become quarantined. Not because I want those students quarantined and send them away, but it won't be everyone on the campus. We will be able to give the Department of Health enough information that these are the only ones in that area. So that's why we have the seating charts. That's why we have where you're supposed to be in terms of a room. That's why we're scheduling cohorts of students together so that it's not everyone. We might have to talk with some individuals. In a COVID positive case, then the Department of Health would start contacting those that have the greatest chance, if that makes sense.
Could you reiterate how to find your bus schedule and if buses run on Fridays?
Yes. We are required to provide a list the previous Friday to let homeschool districts know that these students will be attending that following Friday. So again, it makes it just very hard to be able to say, yeah, show up tomorrow. If a student says, well, can I just show up tomorrow? We're going to have to start looking at some of that pre-planning to make sure that we notify your school districts a week in advance that this is the group that's coming on Friday. And yes, your school will offer that transportation. You said reiterate the Friday transportation and Fridays just overall?
No, how to reiterate how to people asking like, how do I figure out what time the bus goes from my homeschool, et cetera.
Gotcha. So Butler Tech does not control each homeschool district's transportation. Each school district tells us, that how many buses they are sending. Please contact your Department of Transportation in your home school district. Your home school district will be able to tell you when, where, and how. So they will be able to give that information to you. I know that some school districts were not giving that information until today. So I know they were trying to schedule their students and how many students on a bus and where those buses are going to go. So I know that some school districts were able to give out that information today. Please contact your home school district. I will also tell you that some homeschool districts are making you fill out a form so they know who is on that bus and where to pick you up and those kinds of things. So make sure you're contacting your homeschool's transportation. Assignments that you're completing. Oh, I'm reading your answer. That's easy. A couple other things, again, just to reiterate that. So there is a shuttle bus that runs from D. Russell Lee to here. We will be sending out that information on Monday. It will be in the newsletter, so that'll be part of the information in terms of our newsletter. But that will talk a little bit about the shuttle buses, what those bus numbers are, and where they are located. They leave from D. Russell Lee and come to the Natural Science Center. And then at the end of the day, they go in reverse. So you will get that. You will get that on Monday in the newsletter. Butler Tech student ID. We will have pictures. Those pictures, I want to say, are in September. There's a lot of dates in my head right now. So I want to say mid-September. Again, that's information that we will make sure we get out to you. But yes, you will have IDs based on that school picture.
Somebody asked, how do they get a student ID to set up pay school so lunch money is in there at the first day of school?
Okay, so it's not your student, your student ID number. So what you're looking at is that 999 number. So one of the things that was included on that email with your schedule, you probably saw a 999 number on there, was like, oh, I don't know what that is. That is your student number for Butler Tech. So if that's what you're asking, that's what that number is. You guys, one, for staff, I appreciate you guys being here. I know we didn't answer every question. We will be getting back to emails this weekend. Hopefully we were able to answer a majority of the things. For students, we're excited to see you back on campus. Like I said, I know for this campus, we hated being away, and we know that our seniors hated being away. So we are excited to be back. We appreciate you guys asking these questions. Again, I know we probably skipped something. We'll look back through that. And again, we will try to make sure we answer questions. I know that I have gotten some requests to switch days. I also know that I've gotten a couple emails saying they didn't get our emails. If that is the case, please email me so that I can email you back. And like I said, I thank you for your patience. We have not gotten to 100% of those. We are trying to get through them as quickly as possible. But I appreciate you being here tonight, because hopefully that answered a lot for you. Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.